head rodeo coach, Coach Kerry Doster, joins us tonight. Coach, it's kind of a rough go for you at your own rodeo. You co-host a rodeo with Odessa over the weekend, and I'm sure the performances weren't what you expected them to be, but such is the nature of the beast sometime, I think, in any sport.
Yep, that's right. And it wasn't as bad as it actually looked. I mean, my good kids, they performed pretty well. They just right on that cutoff as far as making the short round. I had Courtney Conklin, she was on the women's team. She wound up one spot out of the barrel racing to make the short round. Carly, she was a 2-2. She'd won the round, just broke the barrier, just barely broke the barrier, which, I mean, doesn't matter if you barely break it, you tear it down, the penalty's still the same. She was a 2-2 plus 10, so that knocked her out of it. Of course, one of our good bulldoggers, he was injured. Ben Ramey had a bad steer, knocked him out of making the short round. But, the positive deal is, Blake Gagnon, he's a freshman, a Canadian that kind of stepped up and made the short round, wound up 5th overall in the bulldog. And JT Pettit, which is sitting in the top 10 in the bull ride, he came back, didn't draw a real good bull, really drew a really bad bull, made the short round with 67 points, and had a pretty good ride going in the short round, and bucked off in the short round, which only covered 3 bulls in the short round. One of them was a re-ride, but the guy didn't take the re-ride on. So
wow.
The bulls were ranked. Mac Altizer and Thomas Taylor had some really good bulls there. There's some bulls there that's been in FR, and they've won Cheyenne on. China Grove was out, they've won Cheyenne on her. I mean, really good bulls. Some of my bull riders in the past, I mean, some of the bulls around, I mean, we've been 93 points on some of those bulls in there. So, I mean, there's really ranked pin of bulls in the short round. But him and his brother made the short round. They were 5th in the team roping in the first round, and made the short round, and go back to that bad luck and the bad draw deal. But I mean, the steer just jumped up in the air and threw the loop at him, kind of pushed the loop off of him, the head loop. So I mean, if we had luck last week, you know what it was, bad luck. So, but the kids were, I mean, most of them, on the most part, they performed pretty good. Just didn't really draw the livestock we needed.
You just get right back to the nature of rodeo, right?
Yeah.
If you draw a bad steer, it doesn't make any difference if you're the best bulldogger in the world or the worst. You get a bum steer, you get a bum steer.
Yeah, and that's just how it goes. We've been practicing hard this week, and we'll go to Snyder this week, and hope the kids will perform well there, and we'll have a good weekend.
Speaking of practicing, it's nice. Rodeo's a different animal. I can go out and shoot baskets in my driveway. I can go out and hit a golf ball at the course. When you have rodeo practice, you're talking about a whole different animal. Talk a little bit about practice. How does practice go together for a rodeo team?
Well, it takes a lot of livestock. We've got about 50 head of calves out here. 20 head of bulldoggers, 25 steers, and bucking horses, stuff like that. So, I mean, putting the practice together, I mean, it's a lot of work out there. Got to be organized and have things kind of lined up. We've got 2 arenas out here, so we've got both of them going usually at the same time. We'll be roping calves in one pen and bulldogging in the other. Get done with that, then we'll break away rope and be team roping in the other pen. And then after we get done with that, we'll start bucking horses. So, but as far as that, we got weather and stuff. And this week we've had pretty good weather, but a little cold and dreary yesterday. But we were able to practice. But we have we're out here this winter, we all know what kind of winter we had, and we're pretty fortunate that we didn't lose a whole lot of practice to that. But once we get this new event center done, that maybe helps out with practice. So we have our biggest problem here is just dealing with the wind.
Sure.
But we've been pretty blessed with the weather hadn't been as bad as it seemed. Where we can do some practicing.
Another rodeo to go this weekend. How far does that leave you out as far as competitions before nationals come up here pretty short?
Well, we'll go to Snyder this week, and Ben Ramey's going to have a good week. He really bulldogged well yesterday. He's sitting 3rd, which is right in there where he needs to be. Hopefully he'll have a good weekend and bump him up to the top of the standings. But we'll go there. Then we'll have a week off. We'll go to Howard, have Easter break off, and then we'll be at Stephenville for the last rodeo.
Well, it's a quick schedule. You start talking about 4 or 5 tries to make it into that spot, to make that finals run. You don't get a lot of leeway here from mistakes.
No, and you don't. And hopefully we keep everybody healthy. I mean, that's the biggest problem. Which that's in any sport. You've got to keep them healthy. And my bareback rider, he's banged up, but Ben's feeling good, and Carly, she's roping good. She's feeling good. A lot of my good hands. My bull rider JT Pettit, his hands hurt. It's been hurt, so hopefully he hadn't been on rope all week. But that's the tough thing. Like when we have these rodeos back to back, you get an injury, and it's not just the kids getting injured. There are horses that they're competing on. If you have an injury that way, it can really slow you down. So a a lot of factors in this rodeo stuff, but that's how it's always been.
There you go. Any final thoughts for us, Coach, before we let you go and get you wound up here for the next go?
Not much, just, hopefully draw pretty good and have a good rodeo this weekend.
All right, Coach. Appreciate your time as always. Thanks for dropping by, and best of luck to yourself, Texans.